we're going to go back 10,000 years in time. So younger dry, well, even a little further. Younger dryas comes in, supposedly follow the timeline. If you go back pre the exiting out of the ice age, somewhere around like 21,000, 23,000 years ago, then we get into where the ice age is finished completely, and it's off into this incredible melting phase like 13,000 years ago. Whoosh, we get hit with a comet on the ice sheet. That ricochets an enormous amount of ice over and causes those Carolina bays. Like we're talking multi-ton pieces come ripping down and smashing on the earth. But there was so much evidence of this, the giant floods in the scab lands, like this thing happens, and humanity gets pushed back down to a few million, what they call them, breeding pairs. We got to think also the climate at that time was much warmer than it is today. Like during the onset of that, it was still the warmest it's been is at that period, has declined since. But the technology, at least that's why it started like that, is that they've told us that it's linear. Like we didn't have any technology back then. And all of a sudden, the entire population of the entire world from 10,000 years ago, all the way only until 1600, for that 10,000 years plus, we stayed at 250 million to maybe 350 million, maybe 5 when we come in, like I say, to 1700s. That population was never allowed to go above that level for over 10,000 years in this interglacial. But now suddenly, it's allowed to run up to 8 billion. It just doesn't make sense that for 10,000 years we sat there, and in the last 300 we invented more in 300 or 400 years. And you got to think we had 10,000 years in this time of warmth. Now, just statistically, I want you to look at the possibilities. We're told that we went from like steam engines or whatever. Okay, I'll be generous and say 1600 until 400 years to go from the steam engine to a rocket. We had 10,000 years before us. And we didn't do it now. That didn't happen during those 10,000 years that it was only allowed to happen in these last 400. You look at logically, that doesn't make sense unless we've been reset several times along the way, which they haven't told us. Okay, that could be one possibility. Second possibility is it's been kept at that like you would manage a farm. The population's been kept. This earth is a farm. Think of it this way. Population was kept in check at exactly 250 to between 500 million for 10,000 years. And then suddenly, whoosh, we're up at 8 billion, which means that they needed more laborers for whatever was going to be this task to, like, maybe bring the gold into a repository, bring the silver, bring the metals, like you mentioned, but also build out the safety areas or the government continuity that will continue, but using the plebs, for a better term, to do it, that have been brought up into this 8 billion person world that we lived in. You know, we got suddenly the technology that we brought it up to has outrun us, and we're no longer needed. Like humans are redundant right now. It seems as if whatever the building project was that was required, the technology is finally now caught up to that point where like the task is completed. So humans are no longer needed because the task is complete. So now that should run back down to 250 to 500 million, and then it'll keep that baseline until another project is needed where the population shall be allowed to increase. Not just increasing, it is a managed increase and decrease. So this is where the technology is right now to manage that. That's what the show was about in the beginning of it, showing that where they want to know where everybody is at all time. What you're eating. If you're not eating foods from the company, you're finding your own foods. Oh, that could be dangerous. You're eating natural wild foods. You're going to have different mental capacity than somebody who just eats processed foods from a supermarket. Like if they can do it with the smart dust and do it that far down. And the reason we were talking about this, the technology is here, but now what happens? They don't need every human. That's the whole problem. Take at it from that as we come into the second hour here. So Ransom, thanks for joining me. We're definitely declining on the population on a managed level for sure. But for, what was the task that was completed for the build out is more of the question. Now, we're going to have to kind of have in two different sections here. Like, what was the task that needed all these humans to complete it? It's done. Okay, now the humans are redundant, and now how does that managed decline go? So those are completely two separate worlds of questions.
Well, I think it's, you don't even have to get woo woo to understand that, say, if you came 5,000 years ago to Earth and you needed to build something technologic, it would be impossible. So you'd have to build something that was really smart out of stone and chemicals and elements that you could find here. But after you've built the technology, the know how, and processed all of the right elements out so that you could have the right alloys, the right things to build chips, things like that, then you're at a point where you no longer need this massive workforce of humans digging basically with their hands out of the earth. Now you have it, it's in
But ransom,
circulation.
why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do that 10,000 years ago instead of 5,000 years ago?
Well, there could have been reasons why they didn't. We know just from human DNA, the core species of humans. I'm not talking about any archaic other versions of species like Denisovan or, there's like 12 of them now, I think they know of. They just haven't named them. Um, but those populations were here provably for 500,000 years. Denisovan, Neanderthal, but humans, they're just not in the dirt. They're not in the fossil record.
Yeah, bring us into the last 10,000 years.
Right. Then you get more in the last 50,000 years. Some kind of event happened back that far.
Landshap excursion or reversal.
Yeah, something happened that forced the version of modern humans to get new genetic material or disappear. And that's exactly what they did. They branched out, they mixed with Neanderthal, they mixed with Denisovan, they mixed with any mixable hominid on the planet, and what you get today is this archaic species.
What
So,
were they mixed like? You're talking about mixing and creating synthetic DNA, and that was done 30,000 or 50,000 years ago. And we are sitting here going, whoa, that was that explanation of how that happened? Yeah, we just gene edited and that was genetic differently mixed. Think about if they had that tech 50,000 years ago,
I
then
I,
the
I
history we're
think they
told
could
is
have
not correct, man.
I think back then they just did it the old-fashioned way. Um and this is what we got now. But now's a different time. Like I said, we've refined all of the elements. We've pulled enough of it out of the earth to have industry. It's here. It's up on the top layer. It's in circulation. There's no need for literally billions of people to be pulling it out of the earth now. We have mega machines, robots, and other techniques that can just do it. Today, we could dynamite a mountain basically in, a couple of years till it's nothing but dust with giant dump trucks and, drilling machines and all kinds of stuff. So we've already got there. The proof's in the pudding. What you're looking at right now is a high-tech city in China with what essentially, 10,000 years ago speaking, if you could do this, then there would be no question that God lived in your city, right? You'd be seeing him right up in the sky.
Yeah,
And think
please
about this.
proceed. Now imagine when they start putting messages there. Please proceed to your next retinal scan.
Right. Well, we already know you can't take part in this
Yeah, you
without
would be
having all of
godlike.
it.
Think about that technology. We know back, say, the first emperor of China, Huang, and they had that warring states period before that. So it was always coalescing in these the fiefdoms is the better term. There were a bunch of them. Where Beijing now is the capital is not. There was a peoples there, and they'd run it. There was continuous fighting to see who could be, and always, China's a bountiful place. I mean, sheesh, the amount of grains coming out of there and everything, fruits and whatnot. I mean, you wouldn't lack for food, let's say. And go back thousands of years like this. So what is considered, when it came down to the last three, that was the three kingdoms period. You're going back some 2,800 years ago. So where does that take us in the timeline with that too?
Well,
They had metallurgy there at the top, the apex of it, and understood how to do, mixing different metals together to get a stronger alloy out of that thing. Still tossing and turning. The modern world can really take a toll on your body's circadian rhythms The internal clock. Curious about better sleep naturally? Check out these blueberry lemon sleep mushroom CBN gummies. Reishi, lemon balm, valerian root, well, full spectrum hemp extract that may support a sense of calm. Ready for a better night's sleep? Click on that link in the description box below. Hemp Lucid Blueberry Lemon Sleep Gummies.
This person kind of points out something here. There's a missing link that they're constantly trying to find, but that's a missing link of evolution, right? That's
No, the
we
missing link is 5,000 years ago past to 10,000 years ago. That's the missing link. Like, where did that 5,000 years of time go? You can't tell me everything that we ever know and talk about and it begins at 5,000 years ago.
no.
Like, what happened to the last 5,000? We can do this in this 5,000. And what happened to the last 5,000? You can't, even if they were greatly like smashed back because of cometary impact, like people would have had that knowledge and started rebuilding things. There had to have been several resets since then. Or, like I say, the planet's managed. Jupiter Ascending is one of your best documentaries to watch.
Well, my point kind of was is that the listener or watcher, whatever, had a good point. There's no missing links that show evolution, like us transitioning from the trees to walking or nothing. However, there are examples of the first hybrids between the hominids. There are those. We found them. There's some that are first generation, third generation hybrids that we found that was just after admixture happened. So we know that happened. But like I said, now that we can create things from scratch, you no longer need these massive populations. Now an elite few, can live in complete luxury and technology if you get rid of the peasants, because the peasants will be angry. They'll be wanting the same thing. And they've been going out of their way to try to train you to be the good peasant that doesn't multiply, that doesn't procreate, that doesn't create innovation, doesn't invent new things. They just want a dumbed down population that's easily cullable. And I'll give you an example of this right here. A run on canned mackerel. I feed mackerel to my cat because there's so much of it in the ocean. It's not, an endangered resource of any kind. There's a lot of mackerel and tuna and stuff. Still, with 8 billion people eating fish, or at least a portion of them, I've literally been feeding my cat mackerel from the dollar store. But the reason I do that is because I know it's people food too. I can eat it. We can eat it if we need to. The cat can wait, right? But over here, they're talking about there's a run on canned mackerel, emergencies, and radios. The reason, World War III again. But
no, you're kidding me. See, they're already starting to sell out the tin goods. You better go get whatever you can get now.
Not only that, David, that it's actually good for your brain to wait in line.
Oh, it's the best thing ever since sliced bread.
So, when you're going to get your rations,
as they would say,
in the mega cities, and think about this, if you really wanted to, like say you had 1 million mosquitoes outside, how do you get them to come to a certain place so you could kill them? You plug in a zapper.
You push a bunch of CO2 because that's what they're attracted to. That's what they sense as the food source is connected to that gas that outputs, right? So,
well, I was thinking more you would just put a bug zapper.
The mosquitoes would get all attracted in there. After
you
dark,
put a big bug zapper with a bright light.
Yeah, that would do it.
Them all in.
Oh, and then if you had a net under there, you could catch them, and then you could do whatever you want with the byproduct.
Right. But what would a human bug zapper look like?
I don't know. I was trying to,
a mega city. Would it look like a futuristic mega city that provides all of the amenities that you need to live until you disappear, with no children, right? No children. You don't need that because you can live in luxury, and we can grow people now, and robots can serve you. That's the idea, to fetch people into this.
Please remember civilizationcycle.com, and also buy me a coffee /civilization cycle.